All right, let's let's get started. Welcome everyone. Thank you all for joining us on this Friday afternoon. If you're in Houston, it's a little rainy, but that's all right. Today we are kicking off a series of monthly webinars where we'll be talking every month with guests about things that are impacting Houston's public education system. And I thought that the only way you could kick off webinars about public education is to start with where public education starts, with our most precious pre-K students. So welcome to today's webinar, The Power of Pre-K. Joining us today are two fierce mothers, educators, bridge builders, community uplifters, nonprofit founders, advocates for all things early childhood, Dr. Anna and Dr. Hanifa. Thank you guys for joining us. If we could start by having you both introduce yourselves, and then in 1 to 2 sentences, tell us what you believe is the power of pre-K. Start with Dr. Peters.
Hi. So I'm super excited to be here. I am in California, so I'm on a different time zone. But it's just such a huge opportunity and blessing to be able to share and discuss this work with such powerful individuals. Like she said, my name is Dr. Hanifa Shue Peters. I've been working in the field for close to 20 years now. I have 3 kiddos, 15, 10, and 4. I run 2 nonprofits or large child development centers in California, in the Bay Area. And I have to emphasize that I am in the Bay Area, like Silicon Valley, San Francisco, Oakland. That's where I am. And then I have one smaller FCC program, a family child care program in the same area. I also teach community college in the Bay Area, 2 colleges out here. I share all this to say that I've continued to teach all these years. I've been teaching about 15 years because I think that it's important to keep that connection between the actual work on the field and the theory. And I think too many people get out of the work and they still continue to teach, but it becomes disjointed in that way. So I love the work that I do. My doctorate is from SF State, go Gators, in early childhood education. So I'm just feeling so blessed and energized to just be in this space with you all today. Thank you. Oh, my philosophy on pre-K. Well, this is the baseline for me. The first 5 years of life, the brain is developing the most. It's the highest opportunity for you to get the most out of who you're going to become for the rest of your life. So why not maximize on that time?
Yes, thank you. Dr. Anna.
I couldn't agree more. Good morning, friends. My name is Dr. Ana Trevino Godfrey. I'm based here in Houston. I am a love enthusiast, a mother, as Maron said. I love putting music and education together. I'm the proud director and founder of the Prelude Music Foundation. And what we do is we bring music classes to pre-K settings during the most formative years of life, as Dr. Peter said. And our goal is to help young children find a safe, loving place to play with music, to engage with music, and to learn, again, during the most formative years of life. I'm thrilled to be here with you today.
Thank you, Dr. Anna. Thank you, Dr. Peters. I'm really excited to talk about the power of pre-K with both of you. I'm your moderator, Maron. And again, thank you for those listening now, those who are going to listen to the recording later, for joining us. We'll be exploring in the next 45-ish minutes this idea of quality pre-K. Why does it matter? We'll look a little bit at the state of pre-K in Houston, and then hopefully we'll be arming families and educators with some resources and tools to further think about pre-K and advocate for their children. And we will have a question and answer at the end. So as we're going along, if you have questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. And then when we get to the Q&A portion, we'll try to get to as many questions as possible. All right. Before we get started, I do want to name that in this pre-K world, we are usually using these 2 terms. And so don't want to just start getting into them without giving our listeners just an idea of what they mean. So there's two common terms you'll hear a lot when we're talking. First is kinder readiness or kindergarten readiness. And we use that a lot. Basically, what it means is that how ready is this child for kindergarten? And while different districts in Texas may use different measures to assess that, The primary measure looks at early literacy skills. So when we say kinder ready, we're saying how ready is this child for kindergarten, especially in the space of pre-literacy skills and pre-math, but generally pre-literacy skills. The second term that you may hear us use is pre-K eligible or eligible students. And what this generally means is the 3 and 4-year-olds who are eligible for tuition-free pre-K. So if you meet at least one of the following requirements that you see on the screen, you in Texas are eligible for tuition-free public pre-K. So when we say eligible students, we essentially mean that the student has met one of these requirements, or if one of these applies, economic disadvantage, homeless, has ever been in foster care, English language learner, child of an active duty member. So if you've met one of these, you are eligible. All right, now that we have armed ourselves with some normed language on pre-K readiness and what it means to be kinder ready, every year, we're going to start with this idea of kinder ready. So every year, the state of Texas releases a report around kinder readiness. And again, that's how ready are they for kindergarten based essentially in some pre-literacy. Good Reason Houston has dug into the data and we synthesized it for the public. You can check out our kinder readiness report, the full report on the website. But for the conversation today, I just wanted to pull out 3 key things for the data. As a whole, the impact of attending pre-K is profound. And I don't think I need to say that to the guests on here, but just for everyone listening, it is profound. And the data shows that. And 3 things that really stood out to me was, 1, high quality pre-K programs dramatically improve that kinder readiness we were just talking about. 2, students who were eligible, so they met that criteria and they attended pre-K, were more than 2 times as likely to be kindergarten ready than those who were eligible and did not. I think the third thing that I kind of pulled out from the data to talk about is, if you look across all the Houston ISD regions, we've got 11 to 13. I mean, it depends on, Houston is always growing, what you call Houston ISD, but across the Houston ISD regions that we look at, Black, Hispanic, emergent bilingual, and economically disadvantaged students who attended pre-K were more likely to be kindergarten ready than peers that did not. So Dr. Peters or Dr. Anna, what does this say to you about the importance of pre-K on kinder readiness or those pre-literacy skills? Does this surprise you?
No, it absolutely doesn't surprise me. I think what always surprises me is how much people don't know about preschool. And I think it's just because societal norms have made public schools start at kindergarten. And then everything that has happened before kindergarten was based on like daycare, or this idea of like, oh, this is just somewhere for your kiddos to be. And with that, there's often a lot of children who just spend time at home, which is an excellent place for children to spend time. We actually just want to provide preschool as an additional resource to support families during this first 5 years of life, so that they are able to elevate themselves through the K-12 system. So what it says is that people need more information. People need more education about what preschool is for and how it supports that literacy skills. And as a baseline, I know we'll get more into it, but it sets the foundation. It primes children for kindergarten. And that's why it's like, it gets you ready for the big workout. It's like you're stretching before you work out, right? You need that stretching, because if you don't stretch before you work out, then you can get injured or you're not going to get the most out of your workout. So that's kind of how we look at preschool. We don't want to send children right into this really intense educational environment because it's already a part of this bigger trajectory. We want to get them primed and ready and stable, and so that when they enter, they're ready to go. So I think that what parents might want to think about in terms of preschool is just like, hey, how do I set my child up to be less stressed when they enter into kindergarten, to be more prepared for their K-12 education experience, and also set that foundation so that they're just ready to absorb all that has to be offered to them in the public school program. So that would be what I would say to that.
I agree with that completely. I believe there's a misconception on what pre-K is really all about. When children attend pre-K settings, or at least every time I have the honor of visiting a school, which is every week once the school year starts, I love to come and visit classes. What we see is children in a community setting, children who are learning with each other, with one another, for one another, children who have a school family in addition to their family at home. And just like Dr. Peters said, this is setting the foundation for all of learning, not just for kindergarten, but for the rest of their lives, because it's a time when children are most curious, when they love to learn, where there's cause and effect, and they're learning about what happens if I do this, what happens if I don't do this. How am I supported by my community? How do I fit in my community right now? And children are learning so much about who they are and how they have different approaches to learning. And a pre-kindergarten setting is really prime for that, for children who learn visually, or children who learn kinesthetically, or children who learn through listening, through auditory ways. And pre-kindergarten teachers are ready to do that. They prepare to have very specific lessons that are fun, that are engaging, that are helping with oral language, with alliteration, with all the things that help children really prepare to have great pre-literacy skills in a fun, developmentally appropriate way. So that's what, to me, pre-K is a time to have this great school community in addition to our family community, and it only enhances life. It brings great play and joy to a child's life.
It's interesting because we measure kinder readiness, which is like the pre-literacy, that academic, and that's so important, that foundation academically. But when I hear you guys speak, and as the mother of a 3 and 4-year-old, so I've got pre-K 3 and pre-K 4, what always comes out, even when we go out in the community and we talk to parents, is more of what you're describing. It's like we want our kids academically to have the foundation. We want them to have that sense of safety and family and all the things you've just named. Dr. Peters, this is bringing up, you had a TED Talk X in which you said pre-K is more than kinder readiness. And it's not to say that the academics doesn't matter, because they do, they really truly do. There's this whole other part. You said it's actually a significant social experience, children understanding who they are in relation to other people. And Dr. Anna, I've often heard you champion the idea that like high quality pre-K uplifts academics, pre-math, pre-literacy. It gives them a solid foundation. But in order for a student to be successful beyond pre-K, we have to define high quality more holistically. So you guys are both really bringing that up for me, and I've heard you speak about it before. So what would you say are the other components of a high quality pre-K? Kinder readiness, pre-literacy, pre-math skills, pre-numeracy. But from either of you, like what else makes for high quality? What else are children getting in pre-K?
Anna, I've been going first. I want you to go first on this one, and then I'll definitely.
Certainly. It's, to me, it's also the social and emotional development of a young child, right? So it's not just academics. It's not just this great community of teachers who are ready to welcome children in a space that's prime for learning. There is so much that's going on in a child's mind, in their brain, and in their soul as well, in terms of understanding their own emotions, understanding how to self-regulate. Such an important part. I mean, we know so many grown-ups who are having trouble with this. My friends, it starts the first few years of life, taking a deep breath, understanding what to do with big feelings that we all have and that are completely and absolutely embraced and talked about and named in pre-K. It's this, I find it to be an incredible advantage to have a safe social and emotional area for development with friends, with safe people who really care about not just pre-K or the academic side of things, but humanness.
Mhm.
Be looking deep into why a child is in our lives and why we all need to come together and help our society be a kinder, more loving, more understanding um, place. And it starts in pre-K, and I really think that it's a wonderful place to start talking about feelings, emotions, and who we are and what we do in our social space.
I love it. I mean, I can, and I just, obviously, we're just on the same page with this.
We
And
are.
I just want to add, or just add to the layers of people's understanding, because I think what has been lost is people's understanding. We get so fixated on K-12 learning because we think about how it's a trajectory to our future success as adults and things like that. So what we have to educate people on is that preschool does all of these other things, right? It's the first years of your brain's development, that foundational experience. And so what's always very intriguing to me about it is that children can learn these skills, literacy skills, arithmetic skills, etc. They can learn those skills, but they can't if they're not regulated. They can't if they don't know how to communicate. They can't
Right.
if they don't know how to work with friends, if they don't know how to follow directions or read the room or things like that. So what I really deeply believe that preschool creates this opportunity for is to get children's practice, get their brain primed for being able to be successful in the academic space. But we don't need to layer that in the preschool space. We need to trust that the skills are going to come, they're going to be there, but we have to trust that they need this time to get regulated. And also this relationship building with even other adults. I always tell my teachers in my classes that we are actually teaching attachment, not necessarily. My teachers get attached, and I'm like, you need to understand that your role as a teacher is to teach attachment, not necessarily to just be attached.
Yes.
And helping children understand the importance of building relationships with people and being able to detach from them and attach to new people and detach from them and attach to new people in a way that is healthy, in a way that allows them to be able to accept information from new people in their life, take what's valuable, leave what's not. That's also a part of the preschool experience. So high quality teaching is a part of this process that needs to be there in this preschool environment. And I'm sure Texas is doing its best to do what we can to make sure we're supporting kiddos in this space.
It's interesting. You guys are saying such heavy things, teaching how to attach, self-regulation, and admittedly, a lot of us as adults are struggling with that. And if we could teach that to children at a younger age, of how successful would they be in life, I can only imagine. I think for the people listening, when you say all of these things, it's hard to envision it, because what I envision in pre-K is playing. Dr. Anna, you are an advocate for music and movement in pre-K. There's circle time every morning. There's lots of singing and movement. Can you help our listeners understand how are those things we picture in pre-K directly connected to or aligned to the teachings? You're saying that children will leave pre-K with a better understanding of who they are and the society around them and how to interact. What is developmental play? What is all the things I see, and how do they connect that for us?
Great question. So, developmental play. First of all, play is a child's work. Children learn through play. Children are meant to play. Add music and movement to this, and the brain, every single part of the brain lights up. From their prefrontal cortex, which is what we want children to access the most, right? To be able to make critical, healthy decisions for themselves later on. But from movement, from balance, their cerebellum, to their senses, to their listening skills, to their cognitive skills, to their speech development, the brain completely lights up when there's music and movement. This is a normal part of pre-K. We sing songs. We have a welcome song. We have a goodbye song. There's a song for the numbers or the days of the week, and there's movement involved. So what ends up happening is children naturally are learning through play, through different types of play. Sometimes it's group process where we're all moving to the beat together. Sometimes it's completely on their own, doing their own thing in their own space and time. But the entire brain lights up. Now, something that's really amazing to me as a researcher is the direct link between rhythm and reading. So we get 3-year-olds to feel the beat, to march to the beat. Later on, when they're working on reading skills, oh my goodness, the time that they had just to march around in place with their other friends doing it together really supports reading. Now, why do that in pre-K? Well, because the time, again, it's the brain's prime time to learn, right? Number two, when we're in a group and we're all moving together, when we're all singing or dancing or feeling the beat together, there's entrainment. Our bodies naturally want to be a part of that. So our bodies respond to that. 3-year-olds' bodies start moving to the beat, start going to the beat, they start singing, or they stare the entire time. Learning can look like this when you're 3.
Right.
And it's all going in the brain because they're learning visually, they're learning kinesthetically, they're learning through observation, they're learning through active listening skills. It's all going in the hard drive. In many ways, it's time for input that will have tremendous output later on. So that's how I think play and movement really make a difference during pre-K.
Thank you. I'm hearing the power of pre-K and so much of what you're saying, and this like growth of the whole child and preparation, their ability to interact with peers, to self-regulate, fostering curiosity and independence. There's just so much meaningful communication that happens between the peers and the teachers, and learning through book reading, interactive experiences, developmental play, that truly are making the case for like pre-K is powerful in so many ways that I think we often don't realize, because we see children are playing, and it's helpful to understand what is happening in their brain. This play is the foundation for so much, so much good.
Can I actually speak to that? Because I think that that's a critical. I think that's a critical piece that people still don't make that connection. They're just like, oh, play is play. What we're trying to help people understand as a baseline is that when children are, we're not saying that play is going to is the reason why. Okay, it's kind of complicated.
Yeah.
The way the brain works is that we're setting pathways.
Yes.
So what's important to understand is that the play is creating the pathways for a child to learn these bigger knowledge things, like how to add, how to subtract, how to do algebra, how to write an essay. So we're not saying that in preschool they're going to know algebra. We're saying that in preschool, the activities of play, the activities of coordination, the activities of engagement, conversation, making decisions, being faced with challenges, they create pathways in the brain that will help facilitate future academic skills. But if they don't get the practice in preschool to develop the pathways, when they enter the school environment, K-12, there's a missed opportunity. So the brain is working harder to figure out how to navigate these bigger academic conversations. So when we say that it's an advantage for a child to participate or attend preschool, the advantage is you're giving them the chance to get all of these pathways in their brain, right? So that when they walk into a classroom, their brain is not trying to figure out where the information goes. The brain is like, oh, I already have a pocket for that information. Oh, I have a pocket for that information. Oh, it goes over here. Oh, this connects to that, because we've already set all of the pathways for the information. So I think that it's very important to make that connection when people think about preschool. It's not that we're saying, oh, a preschooler can leave my program and they cannot know an ABC, they cannot know how to write their name. But if I feel like they've had a high quality play experience, if their kindergarten teacher or whoever their next educator is there and present and pours into them, that kiddo is going to get that information so quickly and attach that information so quickly. It's like they didn't miss a beat on any level. So it's about pathway creation when we talk about brain development. It's about creating healthy circuitry in the brain so that they're ready for that K-12 experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's we dropped the link to your chat, but for those listening, if you get a chance, the TEDx actually, it's mind blowing. It talks about the neural pathways and how the majority of them are made by the age of 6 and what that means.
Yes.
So if you have a second to listen, I'm gonna jump us a little bit from our littlest learners, our pre-K babies, to our young adults coming out of high school now. Mm-hmm. Our world is turning into a digital tech space. You know, a lot of things are happening globally. And so we've been thinking a lot about, what does that mean for our children coming out of high school? What does post-secondary mean? And there's researchers and business leaders that are identifying skills that they believe are going to become increasingly more important in this future world yet unimagined. So I'm going to share with everyone the skills that the World Economic Forum has identified as the skills of the future. So we're thinking things you need to be successful in the workforce. And so they've identified some top skills. And these are right now what have come to the top, and they look very different than what they look like if you look at a report from 10 years ago, 15 years ago. But here are the top 10. I've listed the top 5, and then right in the bottom in the orange box. So we've got analytical thinking, creative thinking, this idea of resilience, flexibility, agility. We have motivation and self-awareness and curiosity. And under there, coming up in the top 10 is empathy, active listening, social influence, leadership, tech literacy. And in this blue section in the middle, what they've identified as the skills on the rise, these are the skills that are rapidly coming up. They are the skills on the rise. What do you need to be successful now and in the future? What we believe you will need in the next 5, 10 years. And some of them are the same. The ones that have quickly come up this year are predicted to continue to rise: creative thinking, analytical thinking, technological literacy, curiosity. And again, we've got this idea of resilience, flexibility, agility. Under there's self-awareness, talent management, the ability to manage and develop others. That is talent management. Customer service, systems thinking. And so we're saying these are the things that you're going to need to be successful. There was a quote that I pulled out I think is really interesting, and it stood out to me. Businesses surveyed for the report believe the demand for creative thinking will grow faster in the next 5 years by 73% than the demand for analytical thinking. Creative thinking is showing up everywhere. So when you look at this and you think kinder readiness, great, we want our kids ready for kinder, but ultimately, and Dr. Peters, you said earlier about the neural pathways providing more opportunities for, ultimately, we want our kids to be successful in life beyond public school. So when I look at these skills of the future, and y'all think about pre-K, how is pre-K foundational in preparing children for future success beyond kinder? And especially in relation to these skills. Adrian, can we leave the skills up there for 1 second just so they can kind of speak to them?
So we're gonna go back and forth with this, Dr. Anna. Yes. I'm gonna actually, I'm gonna ask of you to speak to it in terms of like the pre-K. I'm gonna just lean on this idea because I have older kiddos. I believe you have older kiddos too. I have a 15-year-old. And I was just listening on the radio, AI is a thing, right? Like talking about all these, these technologies that can solve so much. Like my son, if he wanted to, all he has to do to go to the computer to get an essay written is ask the question, and then the computer can produce the essay for him. So technology is rapidly advancing in a way where these analytical skills aren't necessary because you have computers and technology that can actually do it. However, who are the people who created that?
Exactly.
Who are those people? Those are the creative people. Who is going to be the person who thinks beyond AI? Who is going to be the people to solve these broader problems, right? These bigger problems that computers aren't going to be able to solve, right? Because they deal with emotion, they deal with people, they deal with needs, you know what I mean? So creative thinking is critical, because analytical thinking is actually becoming obsolete because computers are doing it for us. So we need to raise the next generation of young people, have to have a different level of empathy, compassion, passion, creative thinking, literally being able to look at something and see beyond it, not see it for what it is. And that means we have to create play spaces that encourage putting things together that don't go together, right? Or that quote, don't go together, right? Like creating really thought-provoking opportunities, because we're going to need to access pieces of the brains or part of the brain that typically we're not focused on, because we're so focused on these analytical skills. So we need to look at it differently. So I know that play and music is almost a like cornerstone to that level of creativity.
Absolutely. Creative thinking. Well, how do we work on creativity? We work through it through play. We work on creative thinking through the arts. It's so important to have access to the arts from a very, very young age. And play meaning time to put things together, just as Dr. Peters said, right? Time to think, what if? Well, what would happen if I try it this way? Or if I put this one over here? No one's ever done that before. It starts with play. Children need to have time to think about these things. Also, if we want to have a more empathetic, loving world, children have to have a space to practice that. And it can't just be in just one place, right? It's wonderful when they have a vast amount of opportunities to speak with different people outside the family home, right? So yes, of course, at home, yes, 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 but it's a yes and situation, right? It's a yes and situation. Also, in terms of resilience, if we talk about wanting resilience, well, resilience just doesn't happen. Resilience means falling down and standing up, and falling down and standing up. My favorite way to look at resilience is looking at a toddler learning to walk.
Mm-hmm.
They fall, they stand, they fall, they stand, they fall, they stand, until they can run, until they can skip, until they can jump. They're the perfect example of what that's all about, right? Well, to have resilience in learning and in seeking further curiosity and further creative spaces, we have to have opportunities where we can fall and stand in a safe place. And I can't think of a better place than pre-K and kindergarten. I just pre-K for sure. Pre-K 3, pre-K 4. Oh, yes.
I remember there was a book by Robert Fulghum. And it was like, all I really need to know I learned in kindergarten. But I disagree. I think everything you need to know you learned in pre-K. And when I look at these skills of the future, it further enforces that idea. When you walk into a pre-K classroom, in the way you said there's music and there's movement, when you think about resilience, when you think about independence and self-regulation, a pre-K classroom generally has workstations. Children are moving from station to station. That in itself is self-regulation awareness. What am I good at? I can't quite get this. The teacher's helping someone else. And in the same way that toddlers falling is, a lot of the pre-K work is self-correcting. The children sit there and they have to self-correct. They have to work through it. And so when I saw those skills of the future, it made me think, yeah, a lot of what you need to know, that foundation is in pre-K and is further enhanced through 12th grade, but that foundation is just so powerful. We all want what's best for our children and future success. And I think about that a lot with my 3 and 4-year-old. I don't know how success will be defined by the time they are out in the world. I don't know how they're going to define, but all I want to know is I've given them those pathways and all the tools that when they decide how to define it, they can do that. I have not roadblocks. I have opened all the opportunities and then let them decide. That is my goal as a mother. I don't know, catch me in 20 years. But I think pre-K and the way you're describing it is so powerful. It gives kids the tools and the pathways, not just neurologically, but also well, neurologically, but also just within themselves and society and to move forward. But there's some, and in Houston, families with eligible students, so take it back 20 minutes, families with eligible students are opting not to send their kids to public pre-K in all transparency. Texas as a state is ranked number 38 in the percentage, the number of people who are eligible versus enrolled. That means that we've got a host of people eligible. And in Houston specifically, I said I was going to do math, but we're about 39% in Houston. 39% of eligible students are enrolling in public pre-K. That's less than half.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think when you see this? What is the potential impact? And if you were speaking directly to families and educators, what would you say to them if they're on the fence? And we understand why. Like, respectfully, it is scary. I look at my 3-year-old like, wait a minute, the world, I need you to be in my home.
Yeah.
So we understand that. But what would you say to families on the fence when you look at pretty low enrollment numbers?
I was thinking about being a mom. Like I said, I'm a mom of 3, and all of my kids went to preschool. But it was also it was for 2 reasons. One, I knew I couldn't handle them in the home. I knew I couldn't handle them, so I was like, I need you to go be with someone who can give me the space that I need to be a good mom when you come back home. So part of it was self-care for me, and I encourage some moms to do it just for self-care. It's a good reason to do it. But the other important piece about understanding it is that families, one of the number one thing I hear from families who come to my program, and they'll say, well, you know what, I didn't want to put them in a care because they can't talk. They can't, I want to know what happens to them in the day, so they feel better keeping them home while they can't talk. It's a safety thing. It's like, I want to make sure that my kid is safe. So one of the things I need to know is that they can communicate with me what's happening with them throughout their day. So one, I would say to all parents, I totally understand that safety concern, right? But have faith that the systems that preschool are structured under, there's so many regulations, there's so many things that are put in place to make sure that your child is kept safe while they are in this environment, and that hopefully you come in contact with really rich teachers who are really good communicators to help you keep in the loop with what's going on with your kiddo on a day-to-day basis. So one, if safety is one of your concerns, I would say, as to why you are debating as to if you should bring your child to a public environment so early, I would say, one, trust that your state has a lot of things in place to protect your kiddo. Trust that you have a teaching team that is very aware of the needs of your child developmentally, so that they can communicate with you the things that your kiddo cannot communicate. But also trust that it's a really good choice, right? The risk reward kind of aspect there, it's worth it. It's worth the risk of you feeling a little disconnected from your child's day and thinking about what they're going to gain from those few hours every day in program. And then see it as an opportunity for you to get involved with your community. If you need to be present in a way, I'm sure there's so many opportunities for your preschool program for you as a parent to be present, to know what's going on with your kiddo, to make sure that they are in a safe space and environment. But like I said, the risk reward, I think, is very valuable to consider getting your kiddo in a program and then finding a way for you to just stay engaged so that you don't feel disconnected from the process.
Absolutely. My children are now 16 and 20. Oh, goodness, she'll be 21 and crazy. I'll never forget when both of them were born, I was finishing my doctorate. And when Isabella, our oldest, was born, our first, I had a professor from Rice University waiting in the waiting room while she was born. It was remarkable. One of the first guests that we had in the hospital room, and this professor said to me, "The most important time for learning about who you are and what you do and what's really gotten you here is pre-K." A professor from Rice University said this to me on the day my daughter was born. And it's true. I really think that it's a wonderful time. It's a gift for them. And it's a gift for a family as well, because you're also gaining a new family, right? Your children begin to make friends. You begin to get to know other people in the community, in a learning community. And if your child is not talking, they're going to be talking most likely really, really quickly when they're in an environment where they want to talk and they have lots and lots of people to speak with.
Yeah.
So, as long as there's no developmental issue on why your child is not learning, trust me, they're going to be talking really quickly after they go to school. And if I'm speaking now as a native Spanish speaker, boy, learning English really, really quickly in a school setting, or if they're bilingual and they're staying in a bilingual classroom, it's just remarkable what happens with speech. So I really think it's a gift, a gift to give to your children and to your entire family.
Thank you. We've got all the data. Kids who attend pre-K are 2 times more likely, et cetera. But I think hearing from you two is what really makes the difference with parents, and understanding, like, just valuing the reality of what pre-K can give your child is really helpful. I'm getting some questions in the chat, so I'm going to move us along. I want to make sure we have time for Q&A. And anyone who's listening, on the bottom of your Zoom, you should have a button that says Q&A. If you want to drop questions in there, we'll answer them. One of the things that came up was someone's asking to speak to the opportunities available for family to become aware of public pre-K, coming from an immigrant new arrival program lens. It's not necessarily folks being on the fence, but like actually not knowing the options. So I can speak to that, and we'll also share resources with everyone that's registered, so you'll get them as well. One, in our city, we have a great resource, prekhouston.org. And when you go to that website, it actually shows you all the pre-K options in Houston, and it gives you information about them, and you register, and it sends you the links. We've also dropped in the chat, and we'll share after, this ABCs of pre-K. It's a parent guide to pre-K, because Ms. Gonzalez, what you're saying is true, is people don't know. And we've had parents who, beyond knowing the options, okay, I go to prekhouston.org, I know my options. What's next? I want to be an advocate, and I want to make the right choice as a parent. And so we've got on our website, our resources for parents. We've dropped in the chat. We'll share this ABCs of pre-K as a parent guide. And it walks you through, how do you choose a pre-K? Not just how do you register, but what are you looking for? If you call, what are the questions you should ask? Because if you aren't in this space, like Dr. Peters and Dr. Hannah, you're a well-meaning, you want the best, but I don't actually know, what am I supposed to look for? What makes quality? And so for the educators, we encourage you to send this to your family, friends, communities. For families and community members on the call, we encourage you to share this resource that we put together that does help guide parents through what you should be looking for. Additionally, for educators and families, we have resources. Now that my kid's in pre-K, how do I know that they're progressing? How can I be the advocate? We have resources from pre-K to 4th grade that show you what should your kid every child is different, but a general baseline of, in the first quarter of pre-K, what should my kid know? In the first quarter of kinder, in the second. So every 3 months, there's resources. And I use, I have quite a few educators who also use them, because they like to say, like, I just want to see, like, if my class kind of in general, outside of a curricular product, developmentally, where should they be? So we have those resources as well. And we'll share them in the chat, and we'll also be following up with everyone that's registered. You can also find them on our websites. We've got another question here. I'm going to kick it to you guys. As parents who are concerned about the safety and well-being of my child in pre-K, what advice would you give me? So I know we just said it was written, but I'd like to also give y'all a chance to answer on how to look for a quality pre-K. Are there 1 to 2 questions I should ask, and what should I be hearing back?
Okay, that's I'm going to put my admin hat lens on. So one thing to understand is that your intuition is important in this.
That's
right?
it.
As a parent, your intuition is totally important.
Your
so
gut.
I encourage you to visit. you do have to visit. You do need to go and put eyes on the teacher in the kiddos' classroom, on the environment. I would not make too many. Some environments look one way or the others. Environment is important. It should look safe, but it doesn't necessarily have to look. I have seen, let me say this, I've seen, quote, messy environments that are perfect, right? Like, it's like, oh my God, it's such a mess in here. That's amazing. That means these kids are having a great time, right? And then I can go to another environment that's like extremely clean, and so I wouldn't use environment 100% as your indicator. I would look around the environment to ask yourself, would my child have a good time here, whether it's messy or clean? Because kiddos have different personality types too, right? Use your intuition, right? How do you feel when you talk to this teacher? Is this teacher warm to you? And let me say, preschool teachers are very busy, so you have to catch them at the right time. I would say sometimes they're not a good time to have, bigger conversations, but get to know the teaching staff, look at the environment, and ask yourself about your kid. Would my kid have a good time here? Right? Look at the outdoor space. Ask yourself the same question. Would my kid have a good time here? Right? And so those that would be one of my, definitely, like, my number one question to ask self, like, would my kid have a good time here? And then you need to also ask yourself, like, do some self-reflection. Say, what is my real problem with this? Is it that I want to be with my kid all day? I think I'm losing bonding time. Is it a you thing or is it a kiddo thing, right? Some parents have developed their identity around caring for their kid during the day. And so the idea of moving your child somewhere else can sometimes feel like you're taking a piece of who you are as a parent away. And I would say, girl or fella, or however you identify, this is a great opportunity for you to actually balance yourself out and then have tools to lean on, because your kiddo is going to bring stuff back to you that you're going to be able to further develop that relationship. They're going to bring things that they're talking about. They're going to bring activities. They're going to bring, and now you have this resource to actually facilitate a deeper bonding relationship with your kiddo in the home. So I would say self-reflect, ask yourself questions. Why is this hard for me? And then question number 2 would be, will my kiddo have a good time here in both the indoor and the outdoor environment?
Brilliant. Brilliant. Absolutely. As Dr. Peter said, intuition, follow that gut. Your gut will tell you something. And the only thing I would add to this is get as involved as you can, right?
Yeah.
Depending on your schedule and work life, or family engagement in a school only makes the school a better place. And there are opportunities for parents to come together and be involved, whether that's before school, after school. But family engagement is a big part of pre-K. So see what you can get involved, and follow your gut, and know that your child is in a safe, loving place more than anything, because you can see the smile on their face after school, or they bring work home but that's really proud of. They're really proud. Look, Mom, I did this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Beautiful. Dr. Peters, I felt attacked. I am the mom who's like, I just want my baby.
Yes.
That's okay for all of us. And I value and recognize the power of pre-K, and I truly do. I understand it's hard. It is hard because this is one of the first just really big decisions you make about your child's future. And I think
Yeah.
arming the community with the data on the power of pre-K, but also, I can't discredit the fear because I live in it. And I think that the more we arm our community with the data and the things they need to empower themselves, the better it can be. And so we will continue to do that. We will continue to put resources out because we want families comfortable enrolling their children in pre-K and understanding just the deep value of it. We hope that in a few years, we're not looking at 39% in Houston. And I think about when we get more children into quality pre-K programs in Houston, what is that going to mean for the impact on more children's lives, especially when we look at those that are eligible? When we talk just creating, yes, more neural pathways, but also just literal pathways, future pathways to success. So we're coming up on time, right?
Can I add something to that? I'm sorry, I'm going to take you because you just brought something up that I think that another thing parents should think about. Your kiddo will one day be an adult with other adults in society, right? So what we're also promoting is that we want children to go to preschool because these preschoolers will one day be the adults that are running the cities, that are running this grocery store, that are running the hospitals, that are running the government, that are doing, and you as an adult may not be there. Your kiddo is going to be in this life. So think about it as a community effort too, right? Like we need to encourage as many young people or as many parents to get their young people in preschool early, because one day these preschoolers 50 years down the line, 40 years down the line, will be running the world. That they'll be their neighbors, they'll be their community workers, they'll be there. You see what I mean? So it's like you have to think of it as like you're a part of this larger system, and putting your kiddo in the preschool environment creates an opportunity for them to be a better human being and to get to know other human beings. And the more families we have invested in that, it's a long-term investment. It's like you're looking for the long-term investment. And I think that's also sometimes what's hard about preschool for people's mind. You have to process it as an investment that cashes out so much later on, right? And it's kind of hard to make that connection, right? It's easier to know, well, oh, when I bring them to kindergarten or first grade, I see that immediate cash out, right? So it's just like, and I'm using cash out as just investment term. It's just conceptually, it's an investment that is extremely valuable for society, for your child, for your direct community, for your family. And so that's really a good reason to consider it.
Thank you. Dr. Anna, do you have any closing words around the power of pre-K before I give everyone kind of just some direction? Also, as you're doing that, could you also tell people where they could continue to engage with you, your work beyond this, so we can drop kind of some links in the chat? So any closing words on the power of pre-K, and also where can we continue to engage
Wonderful.
with you?
Absolutely. Well, up here in Houston, I work for Prelude Music Foundation. And in fact, we bring music to lots of public HISD preschools. Gabriela Mistral, we are at Farias Early Childhood Center, we're at Fawnwood Early Child Center, helping many different places throughout Houston. So you can look us up and learn more about the Prelude Music Foundation. But really, I just want to leave you with the thoughts and really what was said to me on the day my daughter was born. Pre-K is a gift. Early childhood is the time to learn about the foundation, truly the foundation for all learning. I also want to thank you for the time that you've devoted to being present today. This says a lot about you, either as a parent or an educator, that we're in this together and you're in the path to really give your children the best possible thing you can give them because you showed up today. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
And I once again, I appreciate this opportunity to be in space. Like I said, I'm a Cali girl all the way, and different states have different expectations, different experiences with early childhood. So the best way to reach me, I don't have many socials. This is kind of, I'm learning that it's something I have to work on. But what I can always say is you can email me. I'm pretty easy to find in that way. But if you check out on one of my school sites, you can find my email address. Don't hesitate. Dr. Peters at childeducationcenter.org is my email address. Everything has been said. I would also say for the educators on the line, dive in. This is our time. This is our time. And the pandemic kicked our butt. But now it created a great opportunity for us to come fresh, to come with new energy, to be excited about the work that we need to do for our young children. So for the parents on the line, I would say be an advocate for your kiddo. consider a preschool program that's a perfect fit for your family. For the teachers on the line, I'm saying this is our time. This is not the time to give up. This is actually time to step up. I'm here for it. Email me, reach out. Even if you just need a cheerleader for a few minutes, I'm all for it.
Thank y'all so much. For those listening now and later, if you want to keep up with more pre-K and ed news, check out our LinkedIn. We'll be doing some write-ups on like pre-K fade out and other things happening in pre-K. Subscribe to our Learning Curve newsletter. And also, if you look on the website there, there's the Parents Guide to Pre-K. There's some information on how to choose a pre-K. And we have a section on both Pre-K Houston and Good Reason website with resources for parents. Additionally, we will be, for everyone registering, sending all of this out via email. Lastly, I am always on a path of continual growth, and I truly believe feedback is a gift. So for those listening live or registered, we have sent you an email with just a follow-up survey we'd love for you to do. And we're ending on a call to action. We want to increase the number of eligible students who enroll in pre-K. And the more we see that, the more we also will be pushing legislative efforts. Like, we should continue focusing on early childhood, families, educators, but also at the state level. Funding, I mean, pre-K is powerful and it matters. So thank you all so, so much. We greatly appreciate your time and your energy. Feel free to continue engaging with us, and have a wonderful weekend and rest of your day.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.